Hi guys, welcome. My name is Oscar Bondrini. I'm part of Young Effect Association, and today, together with Alice Fogarty, we are going to discuss about food and the role that food plays in Italian culture. And we are going to discuss this beautiful topic because we are involved in Culture Among Young People project together with other countries in Europe. So probably, Alice, this interview is going to be seen by a lot of people around Europe. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I've just finished eating.
Oh, really? What did you eat?
Yeah, some Chinese food, actually.
Chinese, really? How comes? Come on. For Italians, the food is something that it's very typical. You cannot eat Chinese. Come on.
Oh, that's the common conception, I guess, about Italian cuisine that is somehow like sacred to us, which is partly true, but not many people know that Italians are one of the most open population to wanting to try other types of cuisine, and usually we're very curious about other cultures in general. So
yeah, of course, it was kind of a provocation, as you probably understood. And in my understanding, you have a food blog. Am I right?
yeah,
Okay.
I have a page.
Okay. So how come? How did you discover your passion for food?
Well, like many other Italian fellas, I encountered cuisine since I was born because my grandma and my mother used to involve me during the cooking process, and I came in contact with such a variety of techniques, and I learned them, and so I have this sort of memory that lasts for all my childhood, and that's typical of here, I guess, that you just your parents teach you, or your grandparents teach you a lot of different ways to cook, and it just becomes part of you in a way.
Okay.
So
And do you have any favorite dish?
well, I don't know. I guess if I have to think about my favorite dish that reminds me of home, I guess it would be risotto alla milanese.
Oh, really?
I don't know if yeah.
And are you able to cook
Sure.
it?
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's one of the most simple recipes I know, I guess.
Yeah. Well, actually, our experts in the framework of culture among young people published a story, the history of risotto alla milanese, how it developed around the history. So, can you tell us something more?
Sure. Uh, okay, well, what I know about the dish is that it comes from a very, it has a humble origin because it was mostly consumed by poor people in the rural environment in this Lombardy zone. Um, so it's, as I said, is one of the most simple recipes. It's very simple because well, first of all, risotto is a way of cooking rice, and in general there are very many that like very there's a variety of recipes. You can put whatever you want in it, but this is one of the most with the most basic ingredients and also typical of this region. So butter, saffron, the red spice that turns yellow once you put it in, or parmesan, and well, a little bit of wine. So it's very, very typical, and it just gives me chills just talking about it because it's my favorite.
Okay, so let's go straight to the point. Do you think that the history in general and risotto alla milanese, for example, is one of the examples that you bring it to us? Do you think that along the history, the culture of food is changing something or not?
Well, I would say that as many other type of changes in intergenerational type of changes, uh, I don't think there's been any sort of degradation of food. Somehow it became just there's a new way of seeing food, because at the time, as I said, it was a very sort of food was a necessity. So this type of plates were just like a way to maintain yourself and survive, and somehow in the poor conditions that our grandparents and our great grandparents were. While now food is mostly accessible to anyone, so in a way, is it's you can I would say that young people just look at it with the same respect, but with a little bit more concern about its pleasure, the most positive side of the plates and the dishes. So I think that that's the first difference there.
Okay, and do you think that maybe in the future there will be a gap, more gap, or it's going to be the same like today?
Well, if talking about Italy, I would say that I don't think it will change that much, or at least it will just improve. In Italy, food is not just a product, it's not just something you eat, while it has a sort of an emotional connection. It has like almost an energy that we absorb from it. And so I don't think I really would be sad if that got lost, but I'm sure it's not going to be.
Okay, and do you have an explanation of this aspect?
Well, because in Italy is I would say the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about food is people. So that means that food is not just it's just, you don't eat it when you're alone and you're sad. I mean, of course you can throw yourself on some ice cream if you want, but generally when you want to share a meal, it's just the best way to do it, because you want to share the experience with others. And so there's an exchange of recipes, there's an exchange of the place. Even when you go eat, it just becomes part of your memory. So it's just good. And I would say that this is very probably this period, this pandemic has brought this thing also out, because it's more evident, I guess.
Yeah, for example, in the very first lockdown that we had because of this pandemic, we went to the supermarkets and it was very difficult to find some ingredients, for example, to make a simple pizza. How do you explain something like that?
Well, first of all, people are bored, and I guess that you find anything to do just because you don't want to die in your own room, but at the same time, because it just becomes natural, because as I said, it's something we experienced, I think all of us experienced as Italians, as something amazing, as something that brings you alive almost. So I guess it just becomes even more precious mean to be yourself and to express yourself and your energy into something. So it doesn't surprise me at all, I guess.
Okay, so I was mentioning about pizza. It wasn't casual. As you know, pizza is the most symbolic dish around the world. That means Italian culture, means everything. What do you think about this?
Okay, well, I also thought that it was the most symbolic thing you could ever have for Italy. But for example, I discovered that France and the US have a way higher consumption rate. So that means that we I don't know, I was shocked by it. But now that I think about it, it's like it's a comfort food around the world. So people who don't cook and are lazy and you just want to order something, you just order pizza and that's it, and you just can eat it alone. While here, it's not just a comfort food, it's something you want to use as an occasion to have fun. And also it's so like I would say it's because there's another aspect to consider. It's because the cuisine of Italy is so rich and it varies like among regions, that we don't only have pizza to rely on. And when we want to feel good, we can cook whatever we want and it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be great. So I guess pizza is it's not central. It's not like Italy revolves around a pizza. is not central. Okay, it's on the side, and it's good. It's still good.
Yeah, but probably when you go away, you're not in Italy, and a foreigner come to you and you say, "Oh, I'm Italian." The probably the most frequent question that an Italian receive is, "Can you cook a pizza? How can you explain it if it is not a cultural symbol?"
Well, I wouldn't talk about cultural symbol as an Italian. First of all, I can cook a pizza, of course, but I'm trying to perfect my recipe. I guess it takes years, but I wouldn't consider it a cultural symbol as much as a cultural like exportation. So that means that it just went out and now everyone is crazy because it's very good. But there's all these things that I mentioned before that are part of its heritage. So people don't get that. That's all behind. So just get this pizza and they just think that we live like that, and it doesn't really catch the spirit of it all. So
Okay,
I don't know.
I got the point actually. So thank you. And now I'm going to go very deep in pizza, for example, because one of the most debated things here in Italy about pizza is pineapple, yes or no. For an Italian, if you
Oh
put
God.
pineapple on pizza, is something that is kind of sacrilegious. So what do you think about this?
Well, I was one of the people who was a little bit, definitely skeptic about it, and I was condemning it totally. But well, besides the fact that I don't really like the flavor, the taste of it, I just think that as if you consider everything I just said about it, it just becomes, it doesn't make sense, because if pizza makes you feel good and it's good, it tastes good, and it makes you feel like you just ate something gorgeous, why not? I mean, that would be kind of narrow-minded, and I think food shouldn't be a restriction. It should be something that makes you feel good. So I guess in Italy there are people who are more they just panic when you step out of the traditional process. But I guess my opinion is eat whatever you want, if as long as it makes you feel good.
Okay, thank you. And coming back again to culture and identity. In Italy, something that is very strange or very atypical, let's say, is that any region, any district has its own typical dish. Do you think that this kind of identity can be something that is not involving people, but trying to keep them away from one region or one identity?
Well, I guess this type of matter it involves all countries, in the sense that tradition always puts itself against evolution. Is that what you meant? So there has to be an equilibrium in which young people like me and you can express ourselves through the tradition, but then change it and just make it our own type of I don't know, situation. So I guess it's just natural, I guess. And old people still make a precious contribution to the evolvement of evolution of our cuisine. So.
Okay, so in my understanding, you are a volunteer, an active volunteer of Young Effect, and I know that you have been doing a lot of young youth exchanges around Europe. So it never happened to you that probably food was an instrument to create integration?
Definitely. Since Young Effect is a youth organization which promotes a lot of different cultural exchanges, whether it is a cultural exchange or training courses. In general, we have always this cultural evening, it's called. And, I can't even find the words to describe how amazing and how joyful it is as an occasion. So where every country that's participating just puts a table on top of which you just display a lot of different specialities and typical foods from your country, and you just see people getting so excited and so hyped about it. They just want to share something that is so intimate and personal about their life and their historical heritage also. So it's definitely one of my favorite activities to do. And well, I shouldn't be saying this, but Italian table is always the one where everyone is gathered because it's so good. But besides that, it's great. So
Okay, so we are on the final talks. Do you want to add anything to this interview?
Well, if I have to share a message with the public, I would say that, I mean, don't underestimate the power of food, because it can be such a nice instrument, such a nice way to communicate with people. And I'm sure there's some sort of personal connection to a dish. So try to find it. And don't forget to practice a little bit, like from time to time, because it's always good. You're going to have a family eventually one day. So I guess it's better if you practice a little bit.
Okay, so we are at the end of our interview. Thank you very much, Alice, for your contribution and your time. You shared a lot of information to us. And I hope to see you again very soon because of this lockdown and it's not helping any of us to do our things. So thank you very much again and see you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. See you.